live from the gorgeous Six Senses Resort in Ibiza. And what we're going to be talking about today is how to master your emotional state. So we have 1,500 people live with us today, and let's get started. What exactly are emotions? We've been trained by our society to chase money, to chase objects, to chase career success, to buy that fancy new car. But ultimately, everything that we really acquire is something that leads us to a feeling, an emotion. The car gives us that feeling of satisfaction, bliss. The beautiful house gives us that satisfaction of being in a place of zen, of calm, of peacefulness, that exquisite lover that you want. The emotion that you're chasing is maybe intimacy, sensuality, love. So ultimately, no matter what we're chasing, we're always actually chasing emotions. But it turns out emotions are a really interesting thing. Firstly, emotions are not something you can touch. You can't touch bliss. We can't caress that feeling of focus. Yet, these are states that we are so adamant to find and seek as human beings. Now, it turns out what we think are emotions are not necessarily what emotions truly are. Emotions are learned behavior. In other words, what you define as happiness, as love, as calm, as peacefulness, even as stress or as focus, is something that you have been trained to understand. You have been programmed like a computer through rituals, feelings, rules, politics, myths, religion, spirituality, emotions, laws, stories, songs. All of these things actually teach you how to understand emotions in a different way. And therefore, people who grow up with different parents in different parts of the world actually perceive emotional states radically differently. And different cultures stress different emotions as being most important. So let me give you a really intriguing example. What you're seeing here is a picture of Tahiti, the beautiful island of Tahiti. It's a Polynesian culture, and Polynesian culture originated some 4,000 years ago, very separate from many other cultures in the world today, because they were separated from China, from Mesopotamia by vast bodies of water. Now, in Tahitian culture, there's a really interesting thing. There is no word for sadness. In our culture, whether you're India or the Middle East or Western culture, we understand what I mean by sadness. But in Tahitian culture, sadness is labeled differently. Lisa Feldman Barrett, in her book, The Theory of Learned Emotions, said, in our culture, we have sadness. In Tahitian culture, they don't have that. Instead, they have a word whose closest translation would be the kind of fatigue you feel when you have the flu. Think about that. The kind of fatigue you feel when you have the flu. Isn't that such an interesting way to label sadness? Doesn't that make sadness seem so much easier to deal with? Different cultures provide different labels for emotion. We pass this on to our children, and thus we then are trained in how we perceive the world and how we perceive our emotions. So there's a word I want to introduce you to, and it's a fascinating, fascinating idea. I want you to touch your ears for a moment. What are ears for? They help us understand the world through sound. As you're listening to this, you might be also listening to the sound of birds chirping outside the window, maybe the sound of your laundry machine spinning. Maybe in the far off, there's someone watching television. Sounds help us understand how to navigate the world. But it turns out that there's a different type of listening that happens. So imagine this. What if your ears could point inwards? What if you could hear the sounds inside your body? Well, it turns out you can. And there's a word for it. It's called interoception. Now, if you could hear or perceive the sounds inside your body, you would hear perhaps the rushing of the blood through your capillaries. You would hear the expanding and shrinking of your lungs. Obviously, you'd hear your heartbeat. You might hear the growling of your stomach. You would perceive all of this, and it would be messy. It would be chaotic. But the thing is, we do listen to what's going on inside our body. We just don't experience it as sound waves. We experience it as emotions. Emotions are you listening to what is going inside your body, and then through your understanding, trained by ritual or culture or your parents, you add a label to it. And that label tells you how you are going to define it. So it is an absolutely fascinating theory. And we're beginning to see that so much of how we perceive emotion is really this learned behavior. So in the book, The Theory of Learned Emotions, Lisa Feldman Barrett said there are only four real feelings: arousal, pleasant, calm, or unpleasant. Okay, so only four things our body feels is arousal, we feel pleasant, we feel unpleasant, or we feel calm. Now check this out. Let's look at what happens when this mixture of feelings gets adjusted a bit. We feel jealousy. We want that object that our neighbor has. And when that happens, when we see something that we don't have but we want, the feeling of unpleasantness goes up. We feel aroused not by a human, but maybe by an object, sometimes by a human. Pleasantness shrinks, calmness shrinks. This combination we learn through our culture to label as jealousy. But think about it. What about in cultures where everything is shared, right? Ancient cultures where people lived in tribes. Did jealousy exist? Perhaps not, because people didn't have that emotional response and there was no label for it. Now, let's say you are about to go on a date or you're about to dash into a football field. Arousal is expanded, pleasant is expanded, calm shrinks, and unpleasantness shrinks. This you might learn to label excitement. But here's the funny thing. Someone else might label that in a completely different way. They might label that as, say, being stressed out or being having anxiety. So how you learn to label your emotions determines what emotion you feel. So emotion is ultimately your biochemistry. It's what's going on inside your body combined with mindset, how you are trained to understand that combination of complex biochemistry. Let me give you an idea. Okay, let's look at biochemistry. This is an article from NIHC, the National Institute of Health, and it talks about how gut microbiochemistry impacts your happiness. It says this: the gut provides approximately 95% of the total body serotonin, which in most cases exists as plasma. And serotonin is that chemical that you've heard about that basically causes you to become happy, but it's not produced in your brain. 95% of your serotonin is produced in your gut. So you might see a dip in serotonin if there's something off with your digestion. And you label that as sadness, as feeling the blues. But what if you could correct that gut issue? Suddenly, happiness levels goes up. Isn't that weird? Happiness, literally, the key to happiness being in your gut. Now, of course, today, if you study the science of microbiome, you know that your gut microbiome influences so many other aspects of your being, right? From focus to flow. It's such an incredible concept. But it's only recently, in the past couple of decades, that we started to figure out that serotonin is produced in the gut. Now, let's talk about mindset, learned emotion. Mindset is something that you are trained to perceive. So there was a really interesting study. I'm going to show you that sign in a moment, but this is what I meant by two people can have the same emotional reaction, the same biochemical reaction, and label it differently. This is a study from a book called The Expectancy Effect, and it's a fascinating study. There was a university researcher, and he observed things happening with his students. So students who were running onto the football field and students who were being ushered into an examination room would have similar biochemistry. Their heartbeats would start going up. Their palms would start getting a little bit sweaty. They would suddenly start breathing a little bit faster. And he knew that the biochemistry was more or less the same, but in some situations, the students labeled it excitement, like when they were running onto a football field. And in some situations, they labeled it stress, like when they were about to take an exam. So he wanted to see, is this theory of learned emotions correct? Can I teach the students to process what's going on in their body and perhaps calm down their stress and maybe even improve their exam scores? So this is the study he did. He took this note and he put it on the desk of certain students who were taking the GRE exam, which is a graduate level exam in the United States. Now, the average score for the cohort of students was around 707. And he made certain students read this note. I'm going to read it out to you. People think that feeling anxious while taking a standardized test will make them do poorly on the test. However, Recent research suggests that arousal doesn't hurt performance on these tests and can even help performance. People who feel anxious during a test might actually do better. This means that you shouldn't feel concerned if you do feel anxious while taking today's GRE tests. If you find yourself feeling anxious, simply remind yourself that your arousal could be helping you do well. He reframed the feeling that they were having. He educated them to interocept or comprehend what was going on inside their complex biochemistry in a different way. Now, this was the result. The people who read this sign saw a 9% increase in their exam scores. These scores went from around 709 to 770. That's a 9% increase. Now, that is huge. That could determine the university you get into. That could determine the scholarship that you get. But this increase of 9% in your exam score came from a 30-second process, simply reading that sign. This is why learned emotion is so powerful. All of us can learn to reframe what's going on and get dramatically different results. Now, there's also a really famous TED Talk that you can check out. So in this TED Talk, the Kelly McGonigal, who's the speaker, she speaks about how people who are trained to believe that stress is bad for their body will actually see breakdowns in their health because of stress. But people who are trained or who believe that stress has no impact on their health see no impact from stress. In short, stress and how we perceive it and how it impacts our body is a learned emotion. It is absolutely fascinating. But what you understand about emotions determine not just the emotion you feel, but the impact it has on your performance, whether you're taking an exam or you're feeling burnt out. So why is this important? Well, many of you are mind-body students, and I know you guys love not just talking about the mind, but talking about spirituality. So let's go to the teachings of one of the greatest spiritual teachers out there, in my opinion. Esther Hicks, who wrote the book Law of Attraction. She wrote the book The Power of Emotions. Now, in her writings, Esther Hicks talks about this concept called the emotional scale, and she ranks emotions in this particular way. Right at the bottom is fear, grief, despair, powerlessness. Right at the top is joy, appreciation, empowered, freedom, love. Esther Hicks' thesis is, now, firstly, those of you who know Esther Hicks, put a yes, yes in the chat, because I know there are probably tons of Esther Hicks fans there. Awesome. So amazing to see how many people here recognize her work. Just wanted to acknowledge her. So Esther Hicks says that our minds are constantly shaping our reality. And what determines how well our reality is being shaped is not just the thought. It is the feeling that that thought is generating. For example, if you are feeling grief, despair, powerlessness, she said the negativity of that feeling is a sign. It's literally an alarm bell in your soul saying, stop it, stop it, stop it, because you are just going to attract more of that. And if you're feeling joy, appreciation, love, that is another alarm saying, yes, 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 you're going to be attracting good, delicious, juicy things. Emotions, she say, and this is, again, it's a spiritual theory, is our soul's alarm system to let us know when we're attracting the wrong things and when we're attracting the right things. It is our soul's alarm system. So if you can learn to power your emotions, to rise up when you're feeling low, to get to states of joy, get to states where you feel calm and relaxed, get to states where you have incredible focus and flow, you're actually manifesting faster. You are creating that reality. You are moving towards your goals. Now, Esther Hicks' book, The Law of Attraction, was so influential. It was the book that sparked the original movie, The Secret. Later on, the editors, due to a trademark dispute, decided to pivot the movie and say it was inspired by Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, but that wasn't true. The original version of The Secret was based on Esther's book, The Law of Attraction. So this is some pretty powerful work that has impacted the entire world of manifesting. When you're feeling good, when you're feeling joy, when you're feeling good emotions, you are actually attracting your goals into your life. Now, one of the things that Esther Hicks points out, right, is that you can't jump the scale. So, for example, let's look at worry. If you're feeling worry, you can't go straight from worry to passion or worry to joy. You got to slowly climb up from worry to doubt, doubt to disappointment, disappointment to maybe feeling overwhelmed. You go higher, higher, higher until you reach hopefulness. positive expectation, enthusiasm, passion. Finally, the kings and queens of emotions, joy, appreciation, empowered, freedom, and love. Okay, so you can Google scale of emotions on Google. You'll find many versions of the scale. But this is another reason why, if you even approach it from a spiritual level, emotions are so crucial. So let's talk about the emotions we seek. What we want to do now is we want to talk about 5 emotions that we at Mind Valley believe are emotions which are so important to our day-to-day activities. Emotions that we seek from the time we wake up in the morning to the time we go to bed. And we're going to show you how to understand these emotions in a different way, and also the exact biochemistry that you can activate to get to these emotions. And this is where our guest speaker, Sean Wells, is going to come in. So first, let's talk about the emotions. The first one is equanimity. Now, equanimity is a really respected emotion in Eastern culture. You look at Chinese culture, Japanese culture, you will notice the wise elderly people who are balanced, the sensei. Do you remember that movie Karate Kid? Mr. Miyagi? Mr. Miyagi represented equanimity. You rarely saw him get angry unless he had to stop a fight or defend someone. He was always peaceful. This feeling is called equanimity. When we talk about feeling Zen or being Zenned out, we are paying homage to Eastern cultures like Zen philosophy, where equanimity is such a valued emotion. Being able to be in this state means that even though life may have its ups and downs, you stay fairly balanced. When things go wrong, you understand that, yes, something is off, but it's going to become well again. You don't freak out. You don't stress out. You don't go crazy. In Western culture, this is sometimes referred to through a concept called adaptivity quotient, that you are adaptable when things are constantly changing. So equanimity, or feeling Zen, peaceful, is such a powerful emotion that we seek. Now, another one is focus. How many of you here, you can put in the chat, because I experienced this too, you need to start work with a cup of coffee, right? Whether it's starting email or it's getting on your Slack, you need that cup of coffee. And sometimes during work, you also get distracted. You get distracted through maybe it's a text message, maybe you need to check the news, maybe you can't focus on a task for more than 30 minutes without having to divert your attention somewhere else. Focus is so important. And often we chase these feelings of focus with substances like caffeine. Caffeine is really interesting. Did you know that caffeine is the second most shipped commodity in the world? Number 1 is petroleum. Number 2 is caffeine. That is how dependent we have become on caffeine. But the reason we take things like caffeine, even though overconsumption can be bad for us because it keeps us up at night, it can give you the jitters, it ages your skin. The reason we do that is because we are actually chasing the feeling caffeine gives us. Focus, flow. Now, bliss. Bliss is another emotion that's so important. So one can call this happiness. One can call this joy. I'm using the catch-all phrase bliss because it's so easy to understand. I learned this word from Reverend Michael Beckwith, blisscipline. Michael Beckwith said, one of the most important disciplines we can have in life is the discipline of bliss, to feel and ensure that on a daily basis, even if things are going off, one can feel bliss. Because when you are feeling bliss, when you're in that state of bliss, you know that good things are happening. You know you are attracting what is right for you. Now, interestingly, after I learned this word from Michael Beckwith, I happened to be with Michael the week his father died. And so I wanted to poke him a bit and say, okay, you've been talking about happiness, talking about bliss, but your father just passed away. How are you dealing with that? And his answer was really interesting. There's a podcast interview on this. It's about 30 minutes. I put it up on YouTube if you guys want to watch it later. And Michael said this. He said, I feel grief that I lost my father. But this sadness, this grief, it's like this energy which is following me right now. And it's going to follow me for a while. Because every time I think about my father, I feel sadness. That is truth. But the sadness is not me. The sadness is like a ball of energy that's following me. And I honor it and I love it. And I know that it is my love for my father persisting. but it is not me. And I thought this was such a beautiful idea. And this is why we use the word bliss and not happiness, because you don't want to perpetually be happy. You want to be blissful, because there are moments in life when sadness is actually necessary. You might remember that movie from Disney, Inside Out. In the original Inside Out, they just released Inside Out 2, but in the original Inside Out, remember, we all, as we were watching the movie, we thought sadness was the villain. And then we realized sadness is actually a natural part of being human. So bliss is that recognition that, yes, you can be in grief. A pet may die. You may lose a loved one, but you understand that even grief is nothing more than love persisting. And you are still able to embrace bliss. Bliss means, it doesn't mean that you are happy. It means that you know that even this moment will pass. Does that make sense? So bliss is another really powerful emotion. Now let's go on to sensuality. This is a really, really, really beautiful emotion, but this is an emotion that we condemn. Cultures condemn this. Religion says this is wrong. Yet sensuality is what brings us alive. It what allows us to connect with a lover. Being able to tap into your own sensuality is one of the most amazing ways to love your body, to love yourself. Sensuality can lead to intimacy. Intimacy leads to people staying together closer. So many couples end in divorce or break up in awful manners because they never got to nurture sensuality, intimacy with each other. What if we can activate this more easier? What if we could step into these feelings where we just want to make love? We want to connect with our partner. We want to be able to enjoy our bodies and not feel guilty about it. This is actually one of the most powerful spiritual principles. It's taboo in certain circles because of outdated thinking. But I can tell you this, we're at the Six Senses here in Ibiza because Mind Valley is basically, we just completed an entire event here on sensuality, on conscious lovemaking, on self-awareness, and this was a hot topic. And one of the world's top manifesting teachers, Reagan Hillier, was here. And what she spoke about is how being able to tap into this orgasmic bliss actually activates and accelerates your manifesting. But one of the things we noticed, because we just finished a sharing circle with people from 40 different countries who are here in so many cultures, this is labeled wrong. And not only is it labeled wrong, it is said that you will go to sin if you will go to hell if you even attempt to embrace this. Yet, this is one of the most important and beautiful aspects of being human. Now, finally, sleep. Now, so sleep is interesting. When we talk about emotions, we're talking about states, right? Sleep is a state. It is a state of being where we are rested, where our conscious mind shuts off, but our superconscious, our subconscious is still active, as spiritual philosophers might say, and our body goes into regeneration or healing. But with sleep, this also gets really tricky. We misunderstand sleep in really remarkable ways. I was reading 2 books on this, and both these scientists who wrote these books said something really interesting. They said that 10 to 40% of people who think they are bad sleepers are actually sleeping well. They simply believe they are bad sleepers because they read something, for example, that says everybody needs 8 hours of sleep or you're not going to be able to function. And then they found that the people who believe that, even if they slept 6 hours and that was what their body needed, they are unable to function because of the expectancy effect. So in short, many people who believe they are bad sleepers actually are getting adequate sleep. But their belief that they are a bad sleeper and their belief that bad sleep leads to lower functioning actually causes them to self-sabotage their productivity the next day. So sleep is absolutely fascinating. A great book on this, by the way, for any of you who are facing insomnia is Say Goodbye to Insomnia. It's based on cognitive behavioral theory. It's published by a Harvard scientist, and it is amazing to help you overcome bad sleep. And one of the ways that we do that is through, again, learned behavior, understanding what sleep means, how we define sleep, understanding that sometimes what we think is bad sleep is actually not bad sleep, and also biochemistry, supplements, for example, that can help you sleep. So now I'd like to bring up a guest speaker, Sean Wells. So we've spoken a lot about the mindset, okay? The mindset of happiness. I shared that story about Michael Beckwith, the mindset of sleep, how we perceive stress. Now let's talk about the biochemistry element. Sean?
Sure, sure. Hey, thank you, Vishen. And I love this topic. It's been absolutely amazing. This was what my keynote was on at Mind Valley at the university event, and this is so powerful. So thank you. Are we
So Sean,
jumping in? Yep, go ahead.
yeah, I would like to start with a quote for you by you. You said emotional intelligence is one of the key skills of the 21st century, but how do you actually build it? Okay. And I just want to introduce Sean from the perspective of our larger team. We are launching today at this webinar Mind Valley's newest product. It's our first true physical product, and it's designed to give you instant access to these 5 emotional states. So we'll talk about that in a moment. But first, we want to talk about what exactly is in this product, because Sean is one of the most genius supplement scientists out there, and he's been a pioneer in inventing new molecules. For example, a new type of caffeine 2.0, that he's going to talk about, that gives you the flow states of caffeine, the focus of caffeine, but you can still sleep at night. Sean, I'll let you take it away. You can share your screen, or I can bring up this slide. You let me know what you prefer.
Yeah, no, this slide is great. Thank you, Vishen. So jumping into each one of these, and it's so great to have everyone on. And I will tell you, Vishen and I were talking, and we were dreaming up this concept. And we wanted to make something that was, one, experiential, two, that really impacted these emotional peak states, these peak states that we only felt maybe it's been a long time, but we easily got into when we were children, right? We were able to get into states of Zen and just be so relaxed and be playful. And we could get into states of deep focus when we were working on our Legos or a drawing. We could get into states of bliss when we were just so happy to be around other friends at that birthday party or out at recess. We could dream easily. Our blood could be flowing and we were intensely affectionate towards our other friends, our parents, the ones that we loved. The through line for all of these, to me, is play. And we were able to connect to play in these deeper peak states easily. As we became adults, as we became trained, as Vishen was talking about, through society, through politics, maybe through religion, through all these rules that we're given, and we're told to suppress our emotions. We're rewarded to suppress emotion. Are you a good boy, a good girl? Did you suppress properly? You're not supposed to show emotion. Like Vishen was talking about, I love those movies, Inside Out 1 and 2. They're incredible at showing how powerful and how necessary and how human emotion is. And so going through each one of these formulas, another thing Vishen and Jeff told me when we were building these out was money is not an issue. Where can we get if we pull out all the stops? What can we do if we use the most expensive, the most effective, the most research, the most powerful, efficacious, experiential ingredients possible? And that's what we did. And by the way, these formulas are incredible now, but we're open to evolving them as new research, as new ingredients come out. We will always keep these at the cutting edge. And if you subscribe, you will always get the latest, greatest version of these. But
So
these
Sean,
right now, yep.
I just wanted to add something just to add context here.
Mhm.
So what you're seeing in this ingredient list are ingredients which have, some of them have existed for a while, like L-theanine. Some
Yep.
are really new. And Sean has got like easy GABA and
Yep.
and paraxanthine. And these are fascinating new ingredients that science is showing have remarkable impact on our ability to access focus or access sleep or access bliss. And so we're going to show you this new thing called Mind Valley States. And it's a combination of a pill with an app. The pill gives you the biochemistry. The app, as we're about to show you, gives you techniques that actually help you master bliss or sink into Zen or go into incredible sleep. So we'll show you the app shortly. But what we want to share with you here is this ingredient list. Now, again, there are 25 different ingredients here. You can get on Amazon and you can probably buy these individually if you want to put it together. But what we want to show you is how we are combining this in unique ways to create these powerful pills that give you access to these emotions that you want without the need for alcohol or the need for certain medications that may make you sleep but have crazy bad side effects, or the need for things such as overconsumption of caffeine. Sean, back to you.
Yes, so exactly, Vishen. And we wanted to evolve into this age of Aquarius, if you will, this age of enlightenment, to where we don't need substances that are taking us to that lower vibration on that Abraham Hicks scale. We want to be in these higher vibrations. So Zen, when we look at, yes, as Vishen mentioned, L-theanine, but this is the most potent, the most best version of L-theanine that you can get, that's fermented, that's super clean, that's the active isomer. Apigenin is a polyphenol that's powerfully anti-aging, but also helps put you in a relaxed state that's anxiolytic, meaning takes you down a notch, breaks down anxiety. That's what anxiolytic means. Rhodioprime prime, this is one of the most powerful adaptogens on the market, and it's potent in salidroside, the active that actually helps you be more resilient, more relaxed. Magnolia bark, again, incredible. Hanekiel is the most powerful anxiolytic compound I know of. So, and lemon balm extract as well. So if you look at this collection of ingredients, you will feel relaxed. You won't feel asleep. You'll just feel like you're in your Zen state. And each of these are formulated this way. So focus, L-tyrosine, builds up dopamine. Genius Pure is a special form of choline called alpha GPC that's highly potent, that crosses the blood-brain barrier, that builds up not only the phosphatidylcholine in your brain, which is phospholipids, which the brain is largely made up of, but also increases acetylcholine necessary for focus. Infinity.
So Sean, I just want to share something first, because I saw someone add an interesting comment that I want to address. This person said, wait, I was expecting to learn something, but now you're selling me a supplement. Guys, are you not paying attention? Think about what you learned. So let me just recap, because I think some people here, there are some people in the chat box who have this weird aversion to pill. That's your judgment. Put it aside, because I'm going to tell you why you need to pay attention. Or weird assessment to anyone who is offering a great product because you think you're being sold. Maybe you were swindled by some idiot used car salesman. No, pay attention, because this is about to change your life. So just want to address that first. So some of the people in the comment stream who are making these statements, I thought I'm here to learn. Understand that you just learned a ton, guys. Think about what you just learned. You just got to understand how emotions are not what you think they are, but they are a function of biochemistry plus learned behavior. You got to understand the expectancy effect, how you label stress, how you understand what's going on through interoception can increase your exam score. By the way, those of you taking an exam, if you read that sign and you truly understood that, we just increased your exam scores by 9%, according to science. Those of you who believe stress is hurting you, you just saw evidence and learned about studies that show that it's only hurting you if you believe it is. Many of you have begun to understand how rituals, how cultures are making you label things. We spoke about how we misjudge sensuality. So you just learned a ton. And right now you're also learning, because we said from the beginning, you're going to learn about biochemistry and learn behavior. I just lectured for 30 minutes on learn behavior. Now what you're getting is the world's most powerful, scientifically proven biochemistry list, so you can sleep better. Let's look at epigenin, for example. Many of you who have difficulty sleeping, Andrew Huberman just said epigenin and L-theanine are two of the most important things that help you sleep. But when you take them together to calm down, even during the mid-afternoon, you sleep better at night. You don't have to buy these ingredients from us, guys. You can get on Amazon and buy them if you want to do that. We're giving you the most effective supplement set for the 5 most important emotions that we chase in the Western world. So you are learning a ton. Now get back to paying attention and stop the silly comments.
That's such a great point, Vishen. And yes, you can buy every single one of these on Amazon, at GNC, at Vitamin Shop, wherever you want. But obviously, we wanted to use our knowledge, our platform to put these together. We've been talking to everyone that has a quest. We've been working with all these experts, and someone said, you can do this without these capsules. Yes, the thing is, certainly you could use meditation, you can use binaural beats, you can use methods of manifestation and all the things that are already on the Mind Valley platform. And guess what? That is a part of the app that we'll be showing you, is exactly using all those tools, because when you add them all up, they're even more powerful. We're going to have things like nutrition and these capsules that have these various ingredients along with the music, along with the meditations, along with these other quest authors.
So,
There's
Sean, I
much.
want to ask you before we go on to focus. I just want to say something about Zen. So, I wrote a book called The Six Phase Meditation, and I meditate very easily. But one of the things that I don't mention in the book, because it's only been a recent practice, is, for example, I found that I go way deeper in meditation when I take L-theanine, 1 capsule of L-theanine, and it's a super, 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 super easily accessible supplement you can get from any store. 1 capsule of L-theanine is like 20 cups of relaxing Chinese herbal tea. Really helps you relax. And I find that you just go deeper. I went through surgery a couple of months ago, Sean, and I had great difficulty sleeping. And epigenin, which I heard about on Huberman Labs, made a big difference, combining epigenin, L-theanine, and then magnesium. So just wanted to say that that stack that you just learned, L-theanine, epigenin, radioprime, lemon bark extract, these are really powerful things that you want to pay attention to. Yes, you can use, say, hypnotherapy, for example, to get you into a focused state, right? Or Paul McKenna's hypnotherapy for sleep, really powerful. But you combine that with biochemistry, because the fact is, today's food supply does not give you the nutritional density that it gave your grandparents. There was an interesting statistic released by Biome, the gut microbiome testing company. Avocados in the 1980s contained 8 times the nutritional density as avocados today. And there was another study in Dr. Stephen Gundry's book, The Energy Formula, that said that as early as 1931, the US Senate sounded an alarm saying that America's food supply was deficient in nutrients. And so, like it or not, we live in an age right now, unless you can shop at the most wealthiest, the most high-end grocery stores, we live in an age right now where we do need to take supplements to complement the lack of nutritional density in our food. Okay, Sean, shall we go on to focus? I would love for you to talk about some of the supplements that put us in focus states. I'd love for you to talk about your invention of paraxanthine, infinity paraxanthine, and why you combine L-theanine, which is under Zen, with focus.
Yeah, so that brings up, and I'll get into infinity paraxanthine. I just mentioned L-tyrosine and Genius Pure. But that brings up a great point, Vishen, that we also wanted these states to be combinable, to be stackable, so that you could have Zen focus for that ultimate flow state, that you could have blissgasm for that ultimate experience with another person. You could have Zen dream for relaxation and deeper, more powerful dreams where you're literally feeling and living the dream, these kind of incredible states that you can rarely get into, but we have some amazing quest authors that go through that. So getting into affinity, paraxanthine, I have it right here, the focus product. This is absolutely game changing, and as Vishen mentioned, 93% of Americans are using some form of caffeine every single day. And yet 90% of those using caffeine want to consume less. That is a cognitive dissonance that is very powerful. If 81, 82% of people that reside in the United States are consuming caffeine and want to consume less of it, but they continue to consume it, that tells you how powerfully addictive it is, how physiologically dependent you are. And when you see those lines at Starbucks, you know exactly what I'm talking about. People need their caffeine infusion in the morning. But there is a better way. Caffeine, the reason it can feel good for certain people is because it converts into paraxanthine. It's actually toxic in the caffeine form. And once it's in your body, it can convert into 3 different molecules, theobromine, theophylline, and paraxanthine. But when it's in the caffeine form, it's actually toxic. It's in plants to repel insects because it's toxic to them. It's how plants protect themselves. And 60% of us are slow metabolizers of caffeine, meaning that it can take up to 10 and a half hours to get to half the level of caffeine, meaning that it can take days to clear out caffeine from your body, meaning that we have a lot more side effects than benefits with caffeine. And when you go to paraxanthine in the branded form Infinity, you are getting all the benefits without the side effects. You get increased neuroplasticity, which we measure by BDNF protein. You get increased nitric oxide to the brain, 50% increase in nitric oxide levels. You get increased dopamine, increased serotonin, increased acetylcholine. You get decreased beta amyloid plaque that's associated with Alzheimer's. You get increased glutathione and catalase, the master antioxidants. And with that decreased oxidative stress, it's literally protecting your brain and enhancing your brain. And when we looked at a study where athletes were doing a 10K race, and we had a multitasking test before and after the race, those that took Infinity decreased mental errors from before the race. They actually performed better after the 10K race because they took the Infinity, and they decreased mental errors 10%, whereas the caffeine group increased mental errors 23%. It's a huge
Wow. So
difference.
that's interesting. Okay, so Infinity is a branded molecule, and that molecule is actually called paraxanthine, right?
Correct.
You wanted to find this yourself. You want to Google for paraxanthine. But Infinity is a branded type of paraxanthine that Sean Wells, as a scientist, helped develop. So you can think of paraxanthine as the caffeine molecule with 20% of the bad parts of caffeine sliced out. Again, I'm being super simplistic here. Sean's the scientist. So I used to be a 4 cup of coffee a day person because I needed coffee to plow through work. Now I still enjoy my 1.5 cups of coffee, but after 12 p.m., I take paraxanthine. And this gives me the flow I need, but it allows me to sleep. And worse, I don't get the jitters. When you're taking 4 cups of coffee, you get the jitters. So this is a really powerful tip. Now, you'll also notice that, so we took this and we put it together in Mind Valley's focus stack, right? This is the focus pill the focus pills that we take. You notice we put L-theanine. And some of you may be wondering, well, L-theanine is also in Zen. Isn't focus and plowing through work and Zen and peacefulness opposite states? Why do you have L-theanine in both? Sean, do you want to explain?
Yes. So L-theanine at higher levels can be relaxing, and at certain levels, it will also put you into alpha brainwave states. These are states of flow. So Zen is not exclusive in idea to just being zonked out or just chill. When we think about flow states, we're both stimulated, sympathetic nervous system, and relaxed, parasympathetic nervous system. So that's the flow state. That's that yin and yang that's taking place, to where you are focused, you are connected, you are stimulated, but you are relaxed, you are enjoying it, you are manifesting. It feels like play when you're doing it.
And that's why they're combined, because you get focus, but you get that creative spark that comes from alpha waves, right? Which are generated when you're relaxing. So Sean, let's go on to bliss. Let's talk
Yeah.
about bliss stacks, because I think this is new for people, that certain supplements can actually increase your level of happiness.
This is probably the most exciting one for us. This is the one that we talked about just with so much excitement, because this is really the one that can replace a lot of the things that we've talked about prior, like alcohol, like some of these other substances, where we can feel more happiness, we can feel more joy, more euphoria, because serotonin is being lifted, dopamine is being lifted. Curcu Prime is reducing the amount of neuroinflammation. That's that brain fog. It's also decreasing the breakdown of acetylcholine. Infinity, as we talked about, is increasing dopamine, is increasing serotonin. And then we have Infinity, yes, but then there's Synapsa, which is going to help with synaptic firing. So you're going to be able to speak easier, talk easier, connect easier with others. And then you
Sean,
have, mhm.
I'm just looking at questions. Some people are already asking, like, where can we get this? So let me just share the website. So this is the official new website that we launched today, and we'll give you a promo code. Okay, we're going to give you a promo code, so you get a huge discount. We already discounted this because we want to reward our early buyers, but it's mindvalleystates.com. Okay, and if you go to the website, the full ingredient list is listed for you. Full ingredient list is listed for you,
Yep.
and let's go on to bliss. So bliss is the happiness one. So
Yep. So I'm just finishing that up. So Nobleton is a
when you
compound that
come to
sensitizes.
bliss, you can read about what are the things that, yeah. Let me bring up the screenshot. Sorry, it's loading.
Okay.
There we go. So you
You
can
can,
see the ingredient list over here. All right. You can read about these unique ingredients.
okay. You guys can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So we've talked about the Curcu Prime. We've talked about Infinity. Nobleton is going to sensitize dopamine receptors. That is another feel-good neurotransmitter. Dopamine and serotonin are deeply connected. And Afron is a special form of saffron. This is actually more expensive per pound or per kilo than gold. Saffron is very expensive. And one of the things we found that it does is increase serotonin levels as well as dopamine. And again, those are going to be the things that make you feel so good. And lastly, Zembrin is a special form, a branded form of kanna that's been deeply studied to have mesembrine and mesembrinone. These compounds are SSRIs. It's going to increase serotonin levels by increasing the amount that's available to circulate. And when used acutely, when used around these experiences you desire to feel your highest, in combination, you are going to feel connected, euphoric, blissful, being able to speak easier, connect easier. So this one's absolutely one of my most favorite, and we actually use this at Mind Valley U as a big group of
Yeah.
Quest authors, and we had the night of our lives.
You know why? So to put some context into that, so we just wrapped up a conference over here, and at the parties we give people bliss pills because it gets people off alcohol. Because alcohol, of course, is unhealthy, but we take it because we honestly we take alcohol because we want to relax or we want to feel happy, right? And Zen helps you with that relaxation. A Zen pill. The bliss pill helps you with that happiness. So I've been drinking way less alcohol than I already drink very little, but I think I went 5 months without a touch of alcohol because of the bliss pill, because we had early access to it. So let's go on now to GASM. These are supplements and ingredients that actually cause you to feel not just more aroused, but more orgasmic. And the pill that we put it in is called GASM. Sean, let's talk about these 5 amazing ingredients.
Sure. And some of the questions I'm seeing, one, is it natural? Yes, we only use like vegan capsules. We didn't use anything unnatural as binders, fillers. This is a super healthy formula. These are all highly studied ingredients. So you can feel absolutely safe. Some people said when to take these. You take these prior to the experience you want to feel. Whereas all these other capsules, supplements out there are just for maybe low vibration. When you look at that Abraham Hicks scale, right? Where it's about how broken you are, what disease states you have. This is about achieving the highest vibrations. This is about taking them when you want to feel these states. You're in control. You can formulate your state. You can elevate your state. You can combine these to feel how you want to feel. I could take bliss and gasm when I want to have the night of my life with a special partner or friends. So this formula for gasm isn't just for sensuality and intimacy, not just intimacy with a single partner, but it can be about intimacy with friends even, because blood flow isn't just to certain areas of your body associated with intimacy. The most important area is your brain that blood flow will be going to. And you will feel more relaxed because we do have adaptogens like the Shodan ashwagandha. We do have the zinc picolinate, which is going to increase testosterone and improve immunity. And that helps for men and women to feel more confident. And Tongkat Ali is the same way, optimizing hormones. Nitrosogene is a special branded form of arginine that is going to increase nitric oxide about 8 times better than a typical form of arginine. And beetroot powder is increasing nitrates. This is actually a standardized form that's high in nitrates, and that's increasing nitric oxide, increasing blood flow as well. This will also help you improve your workouts.
So one thing I want to stress, guys, is that the combination of this causes blood flow to increase to your extremities, and there are two advantages. Number one, you feel more sensual, so sex is better. So I actually grew up in Malaysia, and in Malaysia, Tongkat Ali is a natural herb that we find in the jungles of Malaysia, and Malaysians have been taking Tongkat Ali, I guess, for hundreds of years. Tongkat Ali is actually a Malaysian word that means Ali's cane. Ali is a Malaysian name. So you can kind of guess where that comes from. And what Sean said about taking this before workout, this is also really interesting because when the blood flow is increasing to your extremities, you actually get a better workout. You get better muscle gains. So this is not just for sensuality. It can also help with muscle gain. So Sean, just in the interest of time, we'll go on to the final one, dream, because this is where people have a huge problem, sleeping. And these are some of the supplements that we know, based on modern science, create the best impacts for sleep. Now, I see someone asked in the comments, where can we find the research on this? So all of these, there's overwhelming scientific research. Sean, what is a good website where people can go to get the research? Is it PubMed?
Absolutely. PubMed, Google Scholar, examine.com.
Yeah.
We are working on a white paper that will have all of these together and all of their research and how they actually work synergistically. Another thing that's really important before I get into dream is just saying, like, for example, with your Tongkat Ali that you mentioned, one, it matters that it's the root. Two, it matters that it's a potentially branded form. Or three, it matters that it is standardized for something. And this Tongkat Ali is standardized for 2% ureaquinone. And that is the active. And so there's ones on Amazon or at Walmart or these places that are cheap that are not root, that are not standardized. So the ones that all the ingredients we're using in here are the most expensive ingredients, and it can be up to 100 times more expensive than one that has the same name, but is not standardized and not the right plant part, or not a branded form that has the research and the quality control. So this has been really important from day one that we got into this with the best ingredients we could possibly use. So going into dream, we wanted to not only help with sleep, but also help with lucid dreaming. And so magnesium bisglycinate, this is the best form of magnesium to help relax the body. Easy GABA is going to increase GABA levels. This is associated with that relaxation, but not necessarily sedative, like in terms of, comparing it to maybe things like Ambien and things like that are just going to knock you over the head. This is relaxing you. But the easy GABA is time release so that you don't feel those tingles that can quite often come with GABA. Mugwort is the one that's associated with lucid dreaming along with DMAE. Together, they are very synergistic. So we're not just talking about falling asleep, we're talking about having more vivid, deeper dreams. So those work greatly together. And lastly, we used a very, very tiny dose of melatonin. So I want you to be clear on that. It's about 1/10 of the level that most people take in those melatonin supplements. So it's just a tiny bit to kind of tell your body it's time to relax. So together, we have this ultimate collection. And again, I want you to experiment and you to be empowered to be the formulator, for you to formulate your state, for you to choose focus Zen, maybe together, blissgasm together. Focusgasm could be like a really, brilliant time in terms of your concentration because you're increasing blood flow even more to the brain. There's so many ways that you can.
So Sean, let me, because there's so many questions that people want to know, like where can they access this? So this is currently, Mind Valley States is currently, we officially launched today. We can ship to the US, Canada, UK, and Europe. US, Canada, UK, Europe. Okay, so again, if you're in US, Canada, UK, or Europe, you can get this. And what makes this unique is when you buy a single bottle of Mind Valley States, whether you just buy Focus or you just buy Zen, the bottles, I think it starts at around $69. You get access to an app that actually teaches you how to develop the right mindset for that state. So how do we access mindsets? Through breathwork, hypnotherapy, soundscapes, and meditation. These 4 modalities can help you get into good sleep. They can help you get into a state of focus. So for example, let's talk about hypnotherapy, right? There are some incredible hypnotherapies, which you've probably discovered on Mind Valley, like Paul McKenna's sleep hypnotherapy that over the long term actually makes you sleep better. Or Paul McKenna's hypnotherapy on hypnotic trance bliss that reduces baseline stress levels. You're getting access to these type of hypnotherapies. Soundscapes. Soundscapes are things that you play in the background. You're not actively listening to it. You might be checking your email, but there's a soundscape playing that puts your brain in a state of focus. We developed these soundscapes with the Grammy-nominated artist Major. And then there is meditations. Meditations can help you relax. Meditations can put you in a state of feeling truly sensual. And then finally, there's breathwork. Breathwork, breathing modality that can help you shift your state. So based on the app, you can choose what you want to explore. So this is how biochemistry and mindset comes together. Now, I'll take you on a quick tour of the website. The website is mindvalleystates.com, and the promo code is launch. So let's look at, for example, Dream. Okay, so as you can see, there's information on the pill. Then you get information on the meditations. So there's over 100 meditations in the app, and this is going to go up to 500 pretty soon. Now, to not overwhelm you, every time you click on, say, Dream on the app, we'll give you 3 that you can choose from for that day. So because we found that if we give you like 50 different dream meditations, it overwhelms people. So there's over 100, but we give you 3. And this 100 is going to shoot up to 500 really soon. You can read about the benefits of it, and then you can order. So Dream this is now my essential for sleeping well. So when I travel, this is what I take. I take these 5 little bottles with me, my Mind Valley States. So you can add it to cart. Let's see. So this is $79 for Dream. Okay, so I go to checkout. And then if you want to get a discount code, you just put in launch. Launch, you click apply. And see, the price just went down to $59. So the discount code is launch. So you can buy each supplement, each box, or you can go ahead and you can buy the entire collection. Now, I urge you to compare this. Compare this to the cost of buying these 5 ingredients yourself, right? Compared to the cost of buying all 5 ingredients yourself, you can do that if you want, and compare it to the cost of other premium brand supplements out there that charge significantly higher. And then, of course, with Mindvalley, you also get the app. And this app, as I said, is about to go to 500 different audios. And by next year, 1,000 audios. So this is why we believe that what we've created here is really one of the most effective ways to access these supplements. See, so I'm seeing someone said, Ruth said, that's quite cheap actually, as I buy magnesium alone for £30 in the UK for 1 month's supply, right? And here you're getting not just magnesium, but a combination of magnesium, easy GABA, mugwort extract, DMAE, melatonin, and access to a library of sleep hypnotherapy, sleep sounds, all for $59. And that's $59 US, which is about 42 pounds.
Vishen, I just want to stress too that as a formulator, I've formulated over 1,000 supplements. I've patented 40 unique ingredients. And these products are approximately about 3 times the raw material cost of a typical product I formulate. So I want people to appreciate how hard it is to have just maybe one of these ingredients alone, that if you were to go on Amazon could be $30, $40, $50 alone, especially if it's in its best form, its patented form, its standardized form, at the doses that we're using them. To have each formula have at least 5 ingredients that are synergistically working together at these doses in these forms, and then have these be potentially stackable in a way that we've worked on all of them, stacking potentially. Like I've actually gone out for a night where I've used Zen, Gasm, Bliss, and Focus all together. And as you see right here, I had a Bliss Gasm all night on BB. I mean, these are absolutely powerful experiential formulas. And I think most people have not experienced a supplement like that.
So Sean, how long do they last? That's a question in the chat.
Most of these are going to last around 4 hours, I would say, so that you can have your peak state experience, and you can choose when and where you want to have that. I had 28 orgasms. Wow.
That was one of the best case studies.
There's our good friend Bianca. I love her.
Okay, so you can read about the case study. So this was an initial group of people that got to try this out during Mindvalley's month-long event, Mindvalley University. So these were our initial case, and then we want to hear your case studies as well. We also just handed out samples here at AFest, and we are gathering incredible stories and case studies here at AFest as well. So go ahead, mindvalleystates.com, and let's look at some of the biggest questions that came in. We'll stay back for about 10 more minutes to answer some of your biggest questions. Will the recording be available? Yes, we'll send you guys the recording. Now, someone said, how do you reframe the emotion of fear about chronic insomnia? Do stress harms health? Oh, okay, let me answer that. So it turns out that many people who fear sleeplessness and insomnia put themselves in a vicious cycle where the fear of not being able to sleep causes them to stay awake. But a couple of things you need to know, right? Even if you lie in bed for 1 hour, and you're just like tossing and turning and you're not really sleeping, you're actually getting a certain amount of rest for your body. So those 1 hour, if you're lying in bed for 1 hour, you actually got the equivalent of about 20 minutes of sleep. So says the researcher in the book, Goodbye to Insomnia. So a lot of us actually sleep better than we actually think we do. It is the fear that we're not sleeping well. And one of the other things that sleep researchers say is that if you have a night of poor sleep, don't stress out about it, because it just means that the very next day you are going to sleep better, because your body is just going to force you to sink into sleep. So there are many ways to reframe fear of bad sleep. The approach collectively is called cognitive behavioral theory, and it's been scientifically proven in about 6 weeks to help people overcome just about any type of sleep issue. So again, great book to read. We're not attached to the book, but I want to recommend it for those of you who feel you need it. Say Goodbye to Insomnia. And if you're taking sleep supplements are good because there are no side effect. Sleeping pills, Dr. Michael Bruce, who's the sleep doctor on Mind Valley, says certain sleeping pills like Xanax are more addictive than heroin, and they are absolutely to be avoided. So Nia said, what you're saying is that we can flow through the scale of emotions rather than authentically, spiritually bypass by forcing positivity. No, Nia, you're not paying attention. I never said forced positivity. Remember the story I shared about Dr. Michael Beckwith? I spoke about how we can accept sadness through embodying states like blissfulness, which is an equanimity. We can even have sadness in our life without that sadness pulling it down. I quoted the following quote: "What is grief but love persisting?" Nowhere in the Mind Valley ecosystem do we ever talk about forced positivity. But we did say this: you can meditate all you want. Your meditations will go deeper if you have the right biochemistry. If you have off biochemistry that's causing your heartbeat to race, that's affecting your gut microbiome, it's not going to, I'm sorry, but it's going to affect your meditation. It's both. People who say, oh, it's just about the mind, or people who say it's just about supplementation, that's wrong. It's both. That is what we're saying.
I would also argue that you've been hijacked by the world, by the news, by the people around you, by the rules, by there's so much hijacking that's going on. It's hard to even know where it's all coming from. And when you think you're in control, you may not be. Part of Mind Valley, as far as the quest and this platform and these supplements, is about you regaining control and you choosing your path based on where you want to go. And that is very powerful. That is empowering to you.
Okay, so this is a good question, Sean. Are these safe to use every day? Are there
100%.
long-term side effects?
No, no long-term side effects. I would never be associated with anything like that.
And this has all been proven in the scientific studies. And again, you can Google all of these studies like epigenin for sleep at PubMed.
Absolutely. Right. Every single ingredient here is multiple human studies.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to give you an idea of how I use this. So when I wake up in the morning, basically, rather than take my usual 4 cups of coffee, I make a combination that is 1/3 caffeine and 2/3 decaf. Okay, so I have about 4 cups of this combination. So I'm having significantly less coffee, maybe about 1.5 cups of coffee rather than 4 cups. Now, to give me the alertness that I need, whether I need to take a long drive or I need to be on a 2-hour like brainstorm, you take the focus pill. Now, the pills, you don't take one, you take four focus. And here there's enough focus for 30 days. If you're taking 4 a day, there's enough for 30 days. So there's about 4, 12, 16, 120 focus pills in here. And then what I do after my afternoon meetings, I want to calm down because my afternoons, my evenings, so we're talking around 3 p.m. onwards, is the time I want to get out of work mode and I want to get into learning mode and creative mode. So I might be creating new content, creating a new presentation. I might want to be on a Mind Valley learning call, like a mastery call, and learning from a teacher. So I take Zen. Zen helps me relax. I'm a big believer in afternoon naps. You may have seen that even in our office, we have napping pods. So I always nap for about 15 minutes every day. And I take the Zen pill before the nap. So Charlie Morley, who's a Mind Valley teacher, he wrote a book called Wake Up to Sleep. And one of the things that Charlie Morley cites in his book is that when you take afternoon naps, so like an afternoon meditation, it actually helps you sleep better that night, as long as the nap is not too long, right? The optimal is around 15 minutes. A NASA study said never more than 22 minutes, and a 22-minute nap increases your productivity 30%. So the time you spend napping, you get that back. So the ingredients here, epigenin, L-theanine, help with that napping state. So afternoon nap. Now, after coming back from work, let's say I'm going out with friends. Even if I order a glass of wine, it's for the taste. In Europe, we drink wine for the taste, not to get drunk. But I rarely finish that glass. But if I'm going out with friends, I take the bliss pill because it changes my state from work mode or like nap mode to happy, I want to socialize. I tend to have a little bit of social anxiety, and I find that taking alcohol used to alleviate that. Now I take the bliss pill. So tonight we're having a big Mind Valley party here in Ibiza. It's going to be an amazing evening. To make sure that I don't take more than one glass of wine and that social anxiety doesn't kick in, I take the bliss pill. So the bliss pill contains synapsa, circuprime. We read through the ingredients, lots of really good stuff. Before going to bed, I always take Dream. I take 3 to 4 pills of Dream. That's the suggested dosage. And what I'm noticing is that my Aura Ring scores go up by about 10 points. So I was getting around 70 before. I'm now getting 80 when I take this. And before, I used to travel with 5 different supplement bottles for sleep. So I would have magnesium bisglycinate. I would have epigenin. Now I just take this and everything is in one. So it's so much easier to travel. Now, GASM is really interesting. So GASM is amazing for certain people before sex. It just makes you not just more aroused, increases the quality of your orgasms, but it also, because of blood flow to your brain, puts you in this really cool, cute, cozy mode where you want to just get intimate and chat. If you're familiar with, um, certain drugs that create intimacy, there's a lot of research on certain things like MDMA as an intimacy tool, but MDMA is illegal in many places. This one is, of course, not as powerful, but it is legal. And it contains substances that, like tongkat, which has been used in my country, Malaysia, for generations and generations and generations as a way to create better sexual pleasure without dangerous side effects. And Sean, I think with that, we can wrap up. So you guys can go to mindvalleystates.com. Passcode is launch, and we're excited to have you guys try this. Sean, any closing words?
No. If you want to learn more about me, I also have a quest on Mind Valley talking about all the various supplements, well beyond all these here. So I would love to continue the discussion, and really excited that everyone attended, and hopefully you got a lot out of this.
Thank you, guys, and thank you, Sean. Bye.
Yep.